So a big episode of The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon today. We finally got some answers we've been waiting for all along. We get to see the story of how Daryl got to France to begin with on the boat, and we get to see some fast zombies finally. And perhaps the most exciting part is a radio broadcast that we had with Carol talking to Daryl over the radio, where Carol says that someone mysterious returned to Alexandria. We don't know who that is because the radio conveniently cut out, of course. But is that Rick? Is that Michonne? Is it somebody else I'm not thinking about? Maybe Morgan? Who knows? We will find out eventually, I think, in the Rick and Michonne show, or when Carol shows up in season 2 of this show, which is filming. I'm sure that's going to happen. So it's a big episode this week, and it's divided into, I would say, 4 segments. We got the Daryl flashback scenes, we got Daryl in the present day with Lant, and we got the Isabelle and Quinn segment of the episode. And then after that, there's a big kind of climax with a betrayal and a twist, and then Daryl's facing the fast zombie. So we'll go through in order and break each episode down, but just in general, I think the flashbacks, it didn't give me as many answers as I wanted. They're definitely keeping certain things hidden. Daryl, it shows his perspective. He doesn't know why he's over here. He doesn't know why the ships were going back and forth across the continent. I'm hoping we find out soon, but we don't really get all the answers I was hoping for. Is it CRM? I didn't see any. Maybe there's something subtle I missed, but I didn't see any confirmation there. So there's definitely a lot of things I want to know, but I'm okay with the flashback scenes. I think it was a pretty good part of the episode, and I'm not wholesale just rejecting it at this point. So I'm okay. We need more answers, but it's a good start. The Daryl and Laurent part of the episode actually ended up being my favorite part of the episode. Daryl kind of playing the father figure and trying to teach Laurent how to do things that he doesn't want to do necessarily. That part, even though it's plot-wise, there's almost nothing happening in that portion of the episode, Daryl really carried that part of the episode for me, and I really enjoy Norman Reedus' performance in that portion of the episode. So even though it, like I said, the least eventful, it's my favorite part of the episode. The Isabelle and Quinn part of the episode, I really think is the weak part of this whole season. And we talked about in my review last week that Quinn's motivation doesn't make any sense at all. Why he's so obsessed with getting back with Isabelle after 12 years when he's got a new lover who is, younger and whatnot. And I don't understand, based on how they characterized him as someone who's not sentimental, as someone who's transactional, that he would be this interested. It doesn't make any sense to me. And this episode does nothing to fix that. In fact, I would say it makes it worse. And then we get the portion at the end of the episode I feel is very tropey for Walking Dead. We've kind of dealt with this scenario many times. But with that, I think we'll break into the full episode breakdown. So here we start with Daryl's on the boat with Laurent, and then the guy they're traveling with says he wonders how Daryl got over here, and he makes a biblical allusion to Abram, who was called by God to leave his land and stuff. And I appreciate the allusion there and the comparison. I think it's interesting. And we see Daryl have a chance encounter with somebody on the road he just so happened to run across. And this person is gathering volunteers to collect zombies. And we've seen earlier in the show that we have these French scientists, I guess you could say, trying to do something with zombies, and we learned in this episode that they're making the fast zombies, or we kind of saw that before. So they have this chemical that they can shoot at zombies, and it makes them fast. So they're keeping zombies alive for experiments. So that makes me think it's CRM, because we know the CRM is involved with the experimentation of zombies and whatnot. Also, I just wanted to add that I don't really get why whatever group in France is doing experiments needs to go all the way to America to get shipments of zombies, when clearly there are lots of zombies in France and Europe as well that they can just go out and get themselves. So I don't know what's special about American zombies that they have to come out all the way here. I would have thought it would make more sense the other way around, where zombies from France are going to America to CRM facilities. because there are zombie variants in France that aren't over in America. So it would make sense that they would need to go to France to get certain zombies to bring them over for experimentation. Whereas the other way around, I don't know that it makes sense, although I suppose we have climbers in the US that maybe they're experimenting on, but we don't have any sense of that in this episode here. So that's the big thing that doesn't make sense so far, but maybe they'll find a way to explain it. Let me know what you guys think. There's all these different travelers, and they're brought here by this group, and they're asked to go out and collect zombies in exchange for gas. So this is a well-connected group. They must have oil drilling at this point because even in the in-universe logic on Fear the Walking Dead, we've talked about how gas does not work anymore. If you try to use gas from 10 years ago before the apocalypse, it's not going to work anymore. So they must have some bigger connections. And this guy on the right here, I'll move my face so you can see him. This guy was on the radio with the French people speaking French, and he's got a jacket on that looks CRM to me. So I don't know. No confirmation. I don't think it has any logos on it. It might if you like really zoom in or something. But that's the setup. Daryl is trying to get fuel so he can go back to Alexandria. I guess he's given up on trying to find Rick, and he's coming home empty-handed, I suppose. And in this scene, we got some of the other survivors are a little sketchy, particularly this guy in the baseball hat here. And you got a young kid here who's looking to get fuel as well, but he is not ready for the apocalypse. And you can even see in his posture in this scene that he's really not comfortable here, whereas everybody else is kind of a seasoned veteran, so to speak. So that's the setup for the Daryl portion of the episode. And now we're on a boat. And I love this scene here with Daryl in the woods. And he's got this rig where he's got an arrow on his crossbow that shoots out, and it goes through one zombie into another, and then he's got a long rope that he ties him around a tree. And you can see in the next scene how very successful he is at getting a lot of zombies. I would have liked to see more just because it was fun, but I thought it was really cool. I don't know if it's probably not practical, but it's cool enough. I'm good with it. It's fine with me. I liked it. So, if you really nitpick it, which I tend to do, it's probably not that realistic that he would be able to do that single-handedly with that setup he has, but it's fine for me. I like it, okay? So this kid tries to get with Daryl. He's like, I'll help you out in exchange for some fuel, and Daryl's like, I don't need help. So I kind of like how he has a similar relationship with this character as he does with Lant in the rest of the episode, where he's kind of this father figure. He's trying to teach the kid the ways. But Daryl's advice is for him to go back to his girlfriend because he has a picture of her that he's looking at in the first scene. So that's his whole motivation for being here. We find out later he wants the fuel because he wants to take his girlfriend, who's like a prisoner where she is. And they didn't get that deep into it, but apparently he feels the need that she needs to leave and get away. So now we're on land, and I don't know exactly why, or we're just camping out here for the night, I'm guessing, and cooking some food and fishing and stuff. And this scene I really like between Daryl and Laurent. And Laurent, I guess, has taken a vow not to eat animals, and he doesn't want to kill the fish, even though he's the one that caught it. And, I'm not sure where he gets that from, because it's definitely not a Catholic thing, as far as I know. So I don't know what that is involved with, but he doesn't want to kill the fish, but Daryl's teaching him to skin the fish, and he's like, sometimes you got to do things you find unpleasant. And I just love this scene here with Daryl and Laurent's relationship. I think it really works for me. I was very entertained by it. So Isabelle wakes up in Quinn's compound, and there's a bunch of servants and armed guards all over the place. She opens the door, and then there's somebody there with food, and Isabelle asks, how long has it been, or what time is it, how long has it been, and apparently they gave her drugs without her knowing, which I don't know how that works, but I don't know, maybe the drugs will make you a little woozy and not remember as well, but yeah, she's instantly closes the door. I laughed out loud. I thought that part was funny when she comes out, and then she just closes the door right away. we get this wide establishing shot and see this fancy palace, and we see the armed guards. Now, my question is, I'm not really sure what it is about Quinn that makes him this higher authority, that he has this big place. Like, yeah, he's got the nightclub. I thought the nightclub was this hold up, but he's got this place. I don't know what is so special about him that all these people are willing to follow his orders and put themselves in danger for him. They didn't justify any of that. I just thought we were going to be in the nightclub still. I like the set and the setting and whatnot, but it just feels a bit much. Quinn's trying to woo Isabelle, and all these scenes are aggravating to me. I don't understand either side of what's going on here. Why Isabelle... I don't understand why Quinn would even, give up Laurent, because he was intent on being in Laurent's life last episode, and then he is just okay with exchanging his son for his ex-girlfriend, I suppose. So, I don't know, this whole plotline, it would make more sense, if Isabelle and Quinn were married and had a child together, I suppose, but... I don't know, Quinn doesn't really, we've already talked about it at this point, it's a dead horse, but I just am not into that character. That's the weak point of the season for me. So now we're cooking the fish, and then Isabelle is looking around for a weapon, which makes sense to me, just in case you need to defend yourself. And then she asks God to forgive her for what she's about to do, implying she's going to kill Quinn in the next scene. And I just don't like this part at all either, because it's just yeah, you spent 12 years as a nun, apparently you don't believe in any of it. The whole thing is, religiously, you're supposed to only do violence in self-defense if you have to. There's always another way. She just completely turns her back on her entire faith, and she doesn't actually go through with it, but even thinking about it is a sinful thing, so I don't know why she wants to do that. Even if she does get to kill him, it's they're not just going to let you go. It's not a solution to anything. So, I mean, she didn't even ask to leave. Laurent's already out of the city, supposedly, so she doesn't have any reason, necessarily, to stay. So, I don't know, can't she try to sneak out the window? There's got to be another way, right? And like I said, it's not even a solution to kill the guy anyway, so this whole thing is really dumb on so many levels, and it drives me nuts. And Isabelle is now a less likable character, whereas she was one of the better new characters in the spin-offs that we've had. So, I don't know, they're kind of undermining that for me. And also, her not protesting at Daryl torturing the guy last week, it's just slowly eroding the character they set up, so I'm not a fan. Daryl's talking to the boat captain driver, whose name I forget, but you know what? He's dead at the end of the episode, so I don't know. But I love this scene too. It's just a simple scene around a campfire talking about their past, and I like this character, the boat captain. I kind of wish he stuck around a little bit, but he is a Muslim, and he talks about how he needs to pray 5 times a day, and he's got this watch that is important to him and saved his life. And the backstory with that is somebody at the Nest told him that he needed to fix the watch when he was at a really low point and lost his wife and child. And the watch became his purpose for being. So it saved his life. And then it's also tied in with the faith that he has and the religion he has, because of the praying every 5 times every day. So in multiple ways, it's a symbol of him finding faith. And this is kind of like what Daryl needs to find. And at the end of the episode, when the captain dies, he gives the stopwatch to Daryl. So that's, kind of giving Daryl the faith that he's been looking for. And they also talk about, what do they believe in this episode. I forget if it was in this scene or talking to Laurent. But Daryl was like, I believe in pulling my own weight and stuff. And, the captain describes him as a lone wolf trying to return to his pack. So I think those two in combination, it kind of shows Daryl's, he's gone on this mission looking for Rick, and yeah, he did have good intentions with that, but he's not necessarily pulling his own weight now, is he? He's just a lone wolf out on his own, searching for meaning. So I like these scenes. I think they're pretty well written, and it definitely gets at some deeper stuff that you can discuss. So I like them. They're simple, and solid. So now back in the past, we got the kid, and he's asking the other groups if he can help with getting zombies. And they say, well, if you chop wood for us, we'll consider letting you come along. And then Daryl teaches the kid how to chop wood because he doesn't know how to do that. And I think this is when the kid tells the story about his girlfriend. Now Quinn is back, and this is the scene where Isabelle's planning to kill him. The singer shows up. She knows what's going on. Quinn's new girlfriend, who is now an ex, I suppose. So this scene is just annoying to watch as well. And then Isabelle like takes him to the bed, and she's gonna slice his throat or whatever, which, like I said, wouldn't help anything because there's people right outside. So it drives me nuts. But she doesn't go through with it, so that's good, I guess. And then the singer's right outside, and she drops the glass. And then subsequently, she goes over to the soldiers and tells them about the bribe and all that at the end of the episode. It's plainly obvious that was going to happen. So I'm guessing Quinn is just an idiot. But he's supposedly this controlling guy. He's not even letting Isabelle escape, right? I mean, she doesn't even try to, ask to leave or go somewhere. But I'm assuming that she's a prisoner there, because that's, the implication. It seems like this other singer lady has free reign to go wherever she wants. So it's a contradiction. It doesn't make sense. And this is the one time where, you would actually assume that she was going to do something shady like that. I don't know. At least ask one of his soldiers to keep an eye on her or something. Because even stuff she was saying last episode, Anyways, this is the scene where Daryl's on the radio, and he's talking to Carol, which is awesome. I love having a Carol appearance, and I'm assuming that this radio thing, Daryl says he's in Maine on the coast, so if Carol's coming into season 2, which is the rumor, we've seen videos of her on set, I think, I'm assuming that this is how they justify that. Daryl says he's going to be home in a week, and then he goes missing, and he doesn't show up. Carol's going to come looking. Just makes sense. So that is the setup, and then we get the hint I mentioned earlier that someone returned to the Commonwealth, Alexandria, and I'm assuming that it's Rick or Michonne or Morgan. Because Morgan, we know in Fear, he was heading to Alexandria. That would make sense, and that would be not a spoiler for an upcoming show. But it obviously makes the first thing we're going to think of is Rick or Michonne. It didn't seem long enough to be Rick and Michonne, so I think it's one or the other. They could retcon whatever they want. Yeah, I'm assuming that they're not going to spoil the Rick show coming up. But we know, I'm assuming that the Rick show is all about trying to escape the CRM, right? So if they manage to escape, it could be Rick or Michonne, or it could be any combination thereof. So I find that interesting. I don't think the Morgan one would be as interesting, that she has to tell Daryl that. But you would think if Rick came back, that would be the first thing she said. When Daryl asks her, "How are you?" the first thing she says is, "Oh, Rick's back. You can come back now." They're just keeping carrots out to keep us watching the show. So they really need to make some progress on these bigger storylines. They've been teasing us for so long. We need to see some resolution. Then we get zombies attack the campsite, and Daryl, he kills one outside the tent, and then he goes over and sees the boat captain skewered on a telephone pole. And apparently it happened during the fight. Yeah, he talks about how he trained forever, and, it all came down to this anyway. And it's ironic because his father worked for the telephone company. And I like that they gave this guy a nice send-off. He's like, "I'm at peace. I did my duty. I'm facing the east." And then he says his final prayer. And it's a beautiful moment, and I like how he gave Daryl the stopwatch that we talked about earlier. It's a bit convenient that it happens off screen, right? And we don't see any of it happen. And it does feel like, accidents can happen and all that, but it does feel like it was a couple zombies. What's the big deal? But it's the emotions of it work well enough that I'm okay with it. But they keep doing this thing where they introduce interesting characters and then kill them off in the same episode, or I suppose it was last episode. But we didn't really get to know them at all until this one. So we keep killing off interesting characters, and it's not always the best idea, but I get where they're going symbolically. So they bury the guy, and then they go back to the river, and the boat is gone. And Daryl instantly susses out that it was Laurent that did it, whereas my first assumption would be that somebody saw the boat and decided to steal it. I wouldn't immediately go to, oh, Laurent definitely did it. So I don't know how he made that connection exactly. But anybody have any ideas, let me know in the comment section. But it is a bit frustrating that Laurent would do that, right? So then Daryl goes off on him. He calls him a little shit and says he's not as smart as he thinks he is and all that. And, it's Daryl losing it. And it's really because he wants to get back to USA. He wants to get back to Alexandria. So I thought it was a good scene. Daryl's anger is justified. It's obviously, him losing his cool, and then he immediately apologizes for it and says he didn't mean it. And Laurent explains that he's delaying the mission, kind of like how Eugene was delaying the mission, but Laurent's doing it because everybody he knows is gone now, and he doesn't want Daryl to leave. So it's a sweet thing, he's a kid, he's not thinking straight, so it makes sense to me. It all makes sense, but it does feel like a stalling tactic, And we got Isabelle thinking about cutting herself again, and then she gets a message from a friend, supposedly. So I'm guessing that the friend is some of the rebellion people, like Fallow, or somebody like that, or the other nun, whose name I'm forgetting right this second. But she reads the message. We don't get to see what's on it, but I'm assuming that it's about that they've maybe found Laurent, although that hasn't happened in the episode yet. But, they end up converging at the end. Like, we see the rebellion in the crowd at the end of the episode. So maybe it's like, hey, there's an event coming up and you're going to be going to it or something. I don't know what it is. But it seems to give her purpose, in life, whereas she was ready to end it all right there. Again, I'm just frustrated by the Isabelle portions of the episode. So here we got the zombie collecting, and the kid that Daryl was being like a father figure to is in the chain of zombies. And Daryl notices that there are rope burns around his neck, so he was murdered by this group just to trade for gasoline. So Daryl starts fighting, and one of the rules was no fighting. So they get kidnapped, and now they're taken on the ship, which to me, like, yeah, they broke the rules, but if that happened and people found out about it, like, there's other, that other guy, it's more than just the one guy, like, he has a whole crew there. Wouldn't they try to fight and get them to release the guy? Would they not ask questions about where he is? Would they not try to fight back against this group? Would they not at least warn people to stay away because you might end up getting disappeared if you do something wrong? It seems a bit much. And, the rules were no fighting. I think that would also include murdering somebody to give them as a zombie. Although they pay extra for the fresh ones, so that's probably why they decided to do that in the first place. But yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. That it kind of bothers me that that's the reason why Daryl's in France, but we'll get back to it. So in this scene, soldiers are about to pull up, and Daryl tells Laurent to go, and he gives him the stopwatch, which has a picture of the place they're trying to go on it. So he's like, this is the building to go to. Forgot to mention that earlier. That's another reason why this symbol, it's a symbol of hope and whatnot. So he's like, I'll stay behind to distract the guards, you go. And, it seems like a little convenient, I suppose, but there's soldiers here, and it's coincidence as usual, but it's all good. Now there's the confrontation here. Daryl is about to try to start taking out some soldiers, but then they immediately get him, and then Laurent sees this happen and turns himself in. But it's like they were combing the area for Laurent and they didn't find him, but he was right there. So I don't know. It's just something about this scene just isn't working for me. But, the character-wise, I could see Laurent definitely doing that. I don't think he would just run away either. So now we're preparing to go to this event. And here, Isabelle, I think in this scene, she's saying, like, we're not going to go back to how it was, but we need to look forward. And she puts on this jewelry that he gives her, that he stole at the outbreak. And then but he didn't try to find her or anything. Or, I don't know, it's a weird thing. But she puts it on, and I'm assuming that she's trying to signal to Quinn that she's open to a relationship. But I think she's pretending. And it's because of the message that she got. She now knows that she has to go to whatever this event is, and we'll find out shortly. That's what I'm guessing, but we don't know for sure what the message was. So here we're driving up in a fancy car, and you see Sylvie, that was her name. You see Fallow and Sylvie in the crowd, and also the kid that Sylvie likes. I'll move my face there for a second. You can see him on this side here. We got Fallow here. We got Sylvie here. We got the other kid. So they have allies in the crowd, which I'm sure will end up helping next week in the finale. I'm sure there's going to be a big climax there. So this is where we find out that they were betrayed by the singer lady. We're going to meet the big bad, whose name I forget right now. And in there's a room that they're passing by where somebody's getting tortured and he eventually gets killed. And that was the guy that I suppose Quinn paid a bribe to let Laurent go. So that basically is just the signal that this is not going to go well for them. So here's Daryl in a cage, and now they also lock Quinn in there, and they're saving them to make an example out of them, of course. Now Isabelle reunites with Laurent, and the big bad was talking to Laurent, and she's picking up the pieces of the story, you know, how he was born when his mother's name was Mary, I guess. I didn't pick up on that, but the mother Mary, he was born out of death, life from death, the miracle birth, and he's a special child. She's picking it up, and she's going to make a show out of them and try to dismantle this narrative, or at least show that the rebellion and this group should be one and the same. You know, she's definitely just an authoritarian-minded person. So I thought this scene was pretty good. You know, I thought it was as far as it goes, pretty strong. But the end of the episode here, I love these part on the boat. You know, it's great. I think this is probably the best part of the episode for me. And we're intercutting that with Daryl getting ready to have a showdown, which they've done so many times on Walking Dead. You know, we had the governor with his, gladiator fights, basically. And we had the trash people, Jadis, putting Rick in the arena with the Spike Walker. You know, we've had variations of this many, many times. So seeing it again, it's a little repetitive. But I really like this boat here, which is cool. And we have some nice little details as we are brought through this area. So they have two zombie crates here, and one of them says fast and one says feed, which means, you know, one, they're not giving it any food, fast. Feed, they give the live captive people to the zombies to feed them. And a subtle detail I thought was really cool was when you pass by the fast zombies, they're reaching out, they're really active. And when you pass by the feed guys, they're like a little slower. They're like, So that's cool that we see, you know, the effects of if they've eaten recently. Yeah, they'll still come after you, but not as enthusiastically. And that could perhaps explain why zombies have a various veracity when they're coming after you. So I thought that was a pretty strong little detail. I appreciate the little details. And I think the set's really cool. So I like this part of the episode. And Daryl has to team up with the guy who murdered the little kid, basically, just out of necessity. And they take Daryl's jacket. So you know that means he's got to get the jacket back, because we saw it in the first episode. So, I love the boat scenes. Intercutting it with these other scenes is pretty smart. It's solid editing. So we have the big bad giving a speech, and she's talking about liberty, freedom, and stuff. And, of course, you know, a lot of authoritarians will use language like that to get people on their side. I thought the writing was okay. You know, you can see why she's the leader. She has some charisma. Could have been better, but it wasn't bad. But Daryl's getting dragged to the arena, Now somebody's getting dragged out of the prison cell in the boat and then getting thrown into the feeding. So that means Daryl needs to get out. And then Daryl manages to, they convince them that Daryl is sick. He's coughing up blood. They drag him out of the crate, and then they're about to throw him in. Daryl takes them out, and then he starts releasing all the zombies in the cages. So, I like the fight scene, and it was really satisfying to see Daryl get out of that. But we've seen him fight a lot of people, but, sometimes it stretches credulity. I can't speak, apparently. But, yeah, sometimes you're like, could that really happen? But, it's Daryl. It's Daryl. We're down with it. So I like that Daryl is smart enough to start unleashing all the zombies. He lets the guy go just to help himself, pretty much. Obviously, he doesn't really care about that guy. So now Daryl's in the arena, and like I said, it's a tropey scene. But now we're going to get the fast zombies, and it's just really right here at the end of the episode. So we have all these zombies, two episodes ago, we saw them doing the experiment with the fast zombie behind the glass. Now they've got zombies on this boat, and they also have the head in the jar seemingly attached to this. So something about a zombie head in this solution results in them, getting extra zombie juice. I don't know what this fake scientists are going to use to justify it, but they have this experiment going on, and he gets out, and the fast zombie, we see how strong he is, and he comes up the stairs, which the other ones can't, and then the zombie tackles the bad man, and he pretty much rips him apart. It's not just like regular zombie where they slowly grab out the intestines. He was like whoosh, grabbing full chunks. So that part was really cool. And then Daryl smacks him once back and then jumps off the boat. That's how Daryl gets out of that situation. And it explodes conveniently, but I'll take it because it looks cool. But we did see the fire start in the crate before the explosion, so it's not just out of nowhere. Boat that they were trying to get out, or the escape boat or whatever you call it, falls into the water, and then Daryl jumps out. This does not explain how Daryl ends up tied to the underside of the boat. That makes no sense still, so I'm assuming there's a missing link here that we're gonna get, maybe, I hope, something. I don't know, otherwise the first shot of the series looks kind of dumb. It looked dumb already, honestly. But, yeah, so one thing I forgot to mention is it seems like they're retconning when the fast zombies were introduced in the final episode of World Beyond. We got that post-credit scene. And in that scene, I don't think that these zombies that we're seeing now, the fast zombies we're seeing now, are the same as that one, because that zombie just turned almost instantly. It wasn't injected. That person wasn't injected with anything, I don't think. It was just, the person was just shot, and then she immediately came up and was fast. And so I don't know if they changed their mind about how the fast zombies work between that show and this one. But I don't know. I guess I'm okay with them retconning that because they didn't figure it out. But, like, why even have that scene in there at the beginning? I don't know. But it is kind of cool to see the transformation. Like, we see the veins popping out. So there's a visual signifier to show the fast zombies, which also wasn't in the post-credit scene before. So, or maybe there's just two different variant zombies. We got the ones that are created and then the other ones. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think of that in the comment section. I'm leaning towards they just decided to retcon the World Beyond thing because nobody watched that show anyway. But, yeah, now we got Daryl and the fast zombie. They shoot it with a tranquilizer, and this juice makes the veins pop out on its head, and it's now super strong. And the other military guy, the big bad Cordon, or whatever his name is, he screams that Daryl's gonna die, and then they release a zombie, cuts to black. So I'm not a big fan of the cliffhanger, but we'll see how they resolve it next week, how Daryl gets out of this. But, yeah, overall, I'm kind of mixed on the episode. I was starting strong with the series, and then as it goes on, we see more and more problems crop up. So that it's kind of similar to how Dead City started out strong and lost some momentum as it went on. So I'm still thinking that this one's a little bit better than Dead City, but it's probably, we'll see how next week is, but it looks like it's going to shape out to still be like above the quality we've been getting from the franchise, but it's still not peak Walking Dead quality, which we kind of need some of these spinoffs to be in order to get some of the audience back. But the ratings seem like they are pretty good, and I think this ended up getting more viewership than Dead City did, so maybe we are in a good track. But I would still say it's like upper mid-tier Walking Dead at this point. We'll see how it shakes out next week. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And with that, it's been your boy, Shuggy. We'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching, everybody. Peace out.